What's going on, ghosts? My name is Dom, and in today's video I actually have a very big one that I've been working on, something I'm super excited to get over. It is going over every single assault rifle in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I can't go in depth on every single one, but I did run down the stats and calculated damage per second for every single weapon on here and ranked up their stats, and I have a ranking system for every single one, and I was just going to go over a few notable guns that stood out to me. Now, if you would like to download all of my stats in an Excel spreadsheet format, I have a Google link down in the description below. Go ahead and download them, have them offhand, look for everything. Now, a quick disclaimer, these stats that I'm about to go over do not reflect attachment options. That was just too much to take into consideration, and that would have been too in-depth. If you would like to see me go super in-depth on some specific weapons, leave that weapon down in the comment section below, and I would love to go over those at some point. One of your favorite weapons is going to be at the bottom of this list. If it's at the bottom of the list, please let me know in the comment section why it is still your favorite gun, even though it looks like it's shit. So before I get started, let me just go over how I actually rank these guns. I created a custom template for all the stat bars. I measured the stat bars every 5 millimeters and attached a numeric value to those stat bars. Then I added up all those values and gave it a possible score out of 60. So a 60 would have been full bars all the way across the board. As you can see, the first thing that you're going to see when you open this up is that the VHS D2 comes out on top. I don't think that's any secret. People have known that this weapon is pretty good. Now we have definitive proof this gun is arguably the best in the game. It comes out number 1 overall. It has killer accuracy, killer range, average handling, above average recoil, slightly below average mobility. 5 is the average in this stat, so it pretty much performs above average in every stat, and then it also comes in with a killer damage per second of 500 damage per second in PvP. And as you can see, if we slide over here to the damage stat, that is only 4th overall, but technically 3rd because the first 2 are tied. So it's the 3rd fastest killing gun in PvP. However, in PvE, it kind of slogs a little bit. It's down here at 312. Now, the second notable guns that I wanted to talk about are going to be the M4A1s and their, well, the M4A1 and its variants. Now, most of these are assault variants. The reason I wanted to talk about these is because these guns, anecdotally, you would think these are top tier performing weapons. These are some of the best guns in the game. I've been shredded by them plenty of times. I know people that have been shredded by them. This is a very common gun. But as you can see on the overall rankings, they're pretty much nothing special. You would never think to look at these guns. The top tier one is going to be the base M4A1, and it comes out at 13th overall. So why are these weapons so prevalent? Well, the reason is, even though they suck in range, as you can see, total ass in the range stat, they suck in mobility, they're total shit when it comes to recoil, but the damage, look at this damage, the highest performing DPS in the game for PvP at 523 damage per second, which is crazy. I would argue the base M4A1 is the best because it performs the best overall, but these are guns to look out for, even though they're not at the top of the ranking. In terms of overall capability, these guns are ones to look out for because they are absolute shred machines. I would recommend the M4A1 for anyone who likes an ASR that's going to be performing well up close. However, if you're going to be looking for a gun to perform up close with, I would not go for an assault rifle in the first place. So please, if you like the M4A1, if it's something that's your go-to weapon, why do you prefer the M4A1 over something like a Scorpion Evo CQC? Just let me know down in the comments. Now, I would like to take a moment and talk about these silver pieces of shit right here, the silver stakes. Now, these guns are towards the bottom of the tier list, so you would think that's the end of the story, right? Kind of like the M4A1. Not quite. They have a hidden mechanic to them. So if you go over here to this range stat, the silver stakes perform very well when it comes to range, tying the AK-74 Assault for the highest range stat. However, the Ghost Recon team decided to just completely screw these guns when it comes to DPS, putting them at the lowest. They beat the hell out of everyone for the title of the worst ranking DPS. Look, they're down by 80 damage. That is crazy. The Tavor Assault is 80 damage higher, which isn't that far off, but the 300, that's fucking bad. However, if you're gonna be looking for a ranged weapon, I would not get mad at you for using the silver stake, but there's a much better one up for grabs. That's gonna be the AK-74 and the AK-74 Assault, because you go over here to damage as well. They perform somewhat better, a lot better actually for range. So if you're looking for range, Silver Stake, I'm not gonna bark at you for, but the AK-74 Assault is definitely the way to go. The Ghost Recon team didn't decide to only screw over these weapons when it comes to DPS. There's another weapon that is very close to my heart, which I would label as a top tier weapon that got totally screwed in the DPS, but it's gonna be this gun right here, the Tavor. I would argue that this gun right here has the best overall stats of any of the ASRs, in my opinion. It has a 7 on the accuracy, tied for first place, 5 in handling, which is average, a slight dip in range, but above average in mobility and recoil. Now this gun was my absolute favorite in Wildlands. If you guys remember, Ghost War in Wildlands, Disruptor had this weapon and that was a top tier weapon, probably one of the best when it came to PvP. But in this game, they decided to completely screw it. If you saw over here, it is at the bottom, right above the Silver Stake. It's not hard to beat the Silver Stake. They only beat it slightly though, with 380 DPS. It still comes out in 9th place. Why is that? Because its stats are so strong. So if you are looking for a weapon that has great overall stats, probably the best in the game, but you're willing to sacrifice some damage to get that, go with the Tavor. The Tavor is definitely one to look out for. Now, if you are looking for great overall weapons that don't have a specific niche, aren't exactly close range, aren't exactly long range, take a look at these guns right here. These are gonna be the 4th and 5th place guns, the AK-12 and the Coblin, however you pronounce that. These guns are great overall, have great average stats, but still carry their own when it comes to DPS. So if you look, the AK-12 is perfectly average except for a slight dip in accuracy, but then it comes in perfectly average for every other stat with a killer DPS. That is the 2nd overall DPS in the game when it comes to PvP. However, not so good when it comes to PvE, but PvP it's fantastic. Now, if you look at the Coblin is a similar story, but it's got a slightly different trade-off. You have a dip in accuracy, a dip in handling, but increased range, mobility, and recoil with a slight dip in DPS. So this one might fit your playstyle a little bit better. It's, you know, still up there. It's still a very good weapon when it comes to damage per second. It's just not as competitive as the AK-12. But if you're looking for a gun that's going to have slightly better overall stats, go with the Coblin. Now let's talk about something that I think is a little underrated. People don't usually think about things like this. If you're looking for a gun that does the most damage per shot to get the most bang for your buck, look no further than the AK-47. Now the AK-47 ranks in at 23rd overall, which is terrible. It's not good. As you can see, it's in the red over here. But the AK-47 has decent range and comes in with 48 damage per shot, which is insane, and has a very high DPS when it comes to PvP. As you can see, it's very competitive, and it's also not far off from its PvE one. So if you're looking for a gun that's going to maintain its stats from PvE to PvP, look at the AK-47. Now this gun, if you have it on single fire and you have a steady hand to control its recoil and you can hit your shots, this gun is going to do a lot of damage at some pretty good distances. If you factor in the distances, it's likely that this gun right here could beat the M4A1 at a medium range engagement, because the M4A1 has, is horrible when in the range department. So that's just something to keep in mind. The AK-47 beats the hell out of it. So if you're going up against certain guns, the AK-47 outranges a lot of guns on this list, and it does a lot of damage. If you have a steady hand, think about working with this gun and trying to get good with it. Now, so far, I hope you enjoyed this video, but before I end it, I want to talk about some guns that I think need some love. Some guns that make your Ghost experience even more difficult. These are going to go by the name of the MK17, and it doesn't even matter what variant you use for them because they're all ass. So if you look down here, the MK17 ranks in at 34, the MK17 Assault's at 34th, MK17 Shorty's at 32nd, and then the base MK17 is at 31st. These guns are absolute terrible, and they are tied for some of the worst stats in the game in some of these areas. Look at this, it comes in at a 2 for handling. However, the MK17s, they have almost no redeeming factor. They do a lot of damage per shot, but with accuracy as poor as this, it's very difficult to do anything with them. If you're looking for something to help you struggle in this game, to really struggle, try to think about picking up an MK17. Now you would think with terrible stats, these MK17s must have great time to kills. They must have great damage per second. The MK17s are still in the red down here, and even in the campaign. Look at this crap. They're all over the place. They didn't even know what they wanted to do with this gun. The MK17 Assault is okay up here, and the MK17 base is okay, but then the MK17 Shorty is just all the way down here. This gun's all over the fucking place, and it's horrible. So if you want to really test your patience and see how good of a player you are, try using the MK17. As I would argue, even though they're not dead last in the overall rankings, I would say that these weapons are dead last in the hearts and minds of every Ghost Recon player. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave me a like and subscribe if you'd like more content like this. And please go down in the comment section and let me know if you would like me to go super in depth on any of these weapons here, any attachments, or anything like that. I plan on doing this for SMGs, LMGs, snipers, and all that shit if you guys are interested. But thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, it's always 20% skill and 80% strategy.